Hello, my name is Adam Manuel, and in this video I'm going to briefly discuss the conquistador Hernán Cortés and his involvement with the Aztecs. When I was researching on the History Abstracts website database, I found an article entitled Reexamining the Lore of the Archetypal Conquistador, Hernán Cortés and the Spanish Conquest of the Aztec Empire 1519 to 1521. And in this article, basically, Thomas Brinkenhoff discusses how Hernán Cortés was very unique in that he came and was involving himself with the natives at a time that was very chaotic for the Aztecs, that he didn't know about it until he really started involving himself with them. But in doing so, he comes off after the events of the after conquering the Aztecs, as being this archetypal conquistador, the perfect conquistador who came in with just a handful of men and conquered an entire empire that spanned thousands of miles. So this is a very unique idea that Brinkenhoff discusses. So examining that source, I noticed that he used various primary and secondary sources, and one of the secondary sources was a famous historian for the Aztecs, and his name was Anthony Pagden. And I just happened to actually have a book that he wrote, and then was later, in later editions of it, he did an introduction for it. But essentially, it was a collection of letters that Hernán Cortés was writing and sending to and fro to Spain and other various important people of connection to him. And in that source, a person could read and find out that he was very motivated, and he, from his perspective, he goes in there saying that he was very involved in the conquering and taking over the Aztecs, and he describes in great detail what he does and how he achieved it. Another article that I found was called How the Aztecs Appraised Montezuma by Sarah E. Cohen. And basically the Brinkenhoff article and the Cohen article have very similar ideas, in that there was a situation that was going on that Cortés was not aware of when he entered the country, the empire of the Aztecs, but he quickly would learn about it and utilize it to his success, which he describes, and others in the other articles describe too, but different perspectives. So, for example, the Cohen article discusses how this was kind of more of from the Aztec perspective, but Cohen states that there were basically two ideas that affected how Montezuma ended up messing himself up and his whole entire empire by not paying attention to these certain things. So, for example, one of the two areas was that there was weak leadership. Montezuma was not a strong emperor as some of the people may portray him as. So obviously, being a weaker emperor and being in charge of the Aztecs would affect how he is portrayed, and which led to Cortés being able to conquer him so easily. The other one was that there were religious and psychological issues and climate that was different from what's supposed to be going on. So as you read the article, it explains that basically there was a belief that there was going to be someone who, the Aztecs had a god named Quetzalcoatl, who would one day return and bring peace and prosperity to the land. And all these sources state that Cortes used that to his advantage to make himself portray to the Aztecs that he was their god and he was there to take over, and it let the Aztecs let down their guard, and obviously Cortes took advantage of that. So I found these articles very useful and very interesting. Brinkenhoff's article can be definitely used because if a person has interest in Spanish history or history of the New World, discovery, conquistadors, whatever, they can use his list of sources as a jumping off point to easily get to various other sources. He lists all kinds of primary, secondary sources. He even lists in the notes of his article the various different ways to spell Montezuma, why use that one, why people use that one, and it gets very in-depth and detailed, more than can be discussed in a short video. I hope you enjoyed this video and greatly anticipate your responses.